Hi, this is Rabbi Chaim Kaufman. Welcome to our 109th installment of the Torah portion of the week. We're holding my Parshas Vayigash. Parshas Vayigash is about Yosef revealing himself to his brothers. He sends his brothers back to the land of Canaan, tell his father that he's still alive, and Yaakov wants to come and see his son before he dies, so he takes his family with him and goes down to Egypt. So there's a lot to speak about that, but I want to hit one aspect of that where Yaakov sees his son, and there's this idea, it's a Torah idea, certainly in the Ten Commandments, about honoring parents, right? That's what we're going to speak about. Chapter 46, verse 29. Torah says, Yosef harnessed his chariot, went up to meet Yisrael, his father, in Goshen. He appeared before him, fell on his neck, and he wept on his neck excessively, right? So you see, he saw, Yosef sees him, and he fell on his neck, and he wept. Comes along, Mori v'Rebbe Arav Agon Ramosh Shlita. That he should be well. He brings down and Hochma V'Daz. He brings down from the Targum Yonasan ben Uziel. The Targum over here says that Yaakov bowed to Yosef, as the dream prophesied that they were going to bow down to him, before it was made known to him. In other words, he ends up bowing to Yosef before Yosef had an opportunity to stop him. It wasn't honor for his father, seemingly, to bow down to him. And for that, the Targum says that Yosef, what happens, because his father bowed down to him, it wasn't proper kibbud aveim. It wasn't proper honoring a parent. So some years of his life were taken away, because the Torah says in the Ten Commandments that you should honor your father and your mother in order that you have a long life. So here, since there's a blemish, my Rebbe here points out there's a blemish in honoring his father. So Yosef has some of his years cut off, right? He dies before he's supposed to. And that's why Yosef falls on his father's neck, and he cries in order to show the pain that his father bowed down to him. So here you see that someone who doesn't honor his father, properly, gets punished. What does he get punished with? Kitzur Yomim. He loses years in his life. And someone who honors his father, who honors his mother, is granted Arichas Yomim, right? Arichas Yomim being long life. Now, there are only two mitzvahs in the Torah that the Torah says you get long life for. One is honoring your parents. The other is Shiguach HaKain, by sending out the mother bird when it's hovering over the eggs, right? Hovering over her eggs. You push away the mother bird, you take the eggs. The Torah over there says you're granted long life. Now, according to this, he's supposed to get, if according to the Torah, what do you get for honoring your parents? You get a Arichas Yomim. You get long life, right? But that's only the blessing. Maybe here points out it's only the blessing if you honor them. But included in this is the opposite. If you don't honor them properly, right? You don't honor them properly, so then you get punished. What's the punishment? Kitzur Yomim. You die young. You don't die according to the time you're supposed to. There are years or days or months or whatever that are taken off, and you don't get you don't get those extra days or years or whatever, because you didn't honor your parents. You don't honor your parents properly. So my Rebbe here points out from here that there's a fundamental principle in honoring your parents. That if you don't that we see that if you don't honor them, what happens? God forbid, you get punished, and the punishment is you die. You die before your time. Just like, what's the mitzvah? What if you perform the mitzvah of honoring your parents? So the merit is tremendous. You get tremendous merit. But if you don't, or you nullify the mitzvah, right? Meaning you don't do it. So the punishment is extremely severe. So the Talmud tells us, in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, he says, happy is the person that doesn't know his parents and never recognizes his parents. Why? So Rabbi Yochanan was born and he grew up without parents. Raja over there explains why does he say it's a good thing that he didn't know his parents? Because it's impossible to establish or to be Makayim the honor that they deserve. Right? The hardest mitzvah to do is honoring parents. And you see that if you don't honor them properly, what's the punishment? You die before your time. Right? So you see that, this is a terrible thing. So analyze that for a second. I mean, this is an unbelievable statement. Who wants to grow up without parents, right? All things being equal, let's say your parents are good to you. You're not psychologically abused, God forbid, physically abused. They took care of you. They did what they needed to do, etc. Being parents. Who wouldn't want to grow up with parents? Who wants to be in a foster home? Who wants to grow up with other relatives? Right? A person wants to grow up in a normal house. A normal house means you have two parents, even though today, the divorce rate is so great, it's over 60% in many places, that you have children growing up with one parent, right? At least they have parents, though, right? Even one parent, but the point is that, they have somebody. Here he's saying it's better not to have parents at all, or not to know your parents, because the punishment is going to be very severe if we don't honor them properly. And he says it's impossible to do it. So there are a number of cases in the Talmud of how far, the rabbis went to honor their parents, and, it boggles the mind that, comes along someone as great as Rabbi Yochanan and says it's better not to recognize your parents, so, you don't get punished with having, less years on your life in this world, and, your life is cut short because it's impossible to do this. Now, even though Rabbi Yochanan says it's impossible, obviously God never puts a person in a position where, in a position that they can't handle. So if God gives a command of honoring parents, that means that they're able to be honored. It's something we can do, something that is possible. But Rabbi Yochanan here is saying that, it is possible. It might be possible, but he said the most difficult mitzvah to do. And if you don't get it right, or you didn't honor them properly, the punishment is severe. It's extremely severe. Also, it's brought down that someone who doesn't keep this mitzvah, right, you don't get the merit that God promised you for establishing the mitzvah. In other words, normally the Torah says, this is what you have to do, this is what you don't have to, this is what you're not allowed to do. It doesn't tell us the punishment for all things, right? It doesn't tell us the punishment normally at all. Certain things for, show you how severe it is. A person desecrates Shabbos, and they got warned, and everything being equal, and there was a temple, you get killed, right? Capital punishment. Person committed adultery. What's the punishment? Sreifa. You have molten lead thrown down your throat, if the temple existed. So, that's pretty severe. The Torah says, okay, this mitzvah, you get a Richa Shomim. If you keep it properly, then you get long life. So, the problem here is that, according to this, if you don't keep it properly, what happens? You lose your life. You lose you lose years of your life. Now, the problem with that is, how can you lose? What about the merit of the mitzvah? Everyone gets, if they do mitzvahs, unless person is so bad, whatever few mitzvahs they did in this world, they'll get paid back in this world. They won't have a portion of the world to come. Nonetheless, for the rest of us, if we do mitzvahs, we should get merit for the mitzvah. All of a sudden, over here, you see, by honoring your parents, if you didn't honor your parents properly, what happens? You get knocked out. You don't even get the merit for the mitzvah. But what happened to the promise? What happened to the promise for doing the mitzvah? You get the merit for the mitzvah. Right? Won't be in this world, be in the next world. But how can that be disqualified? How can that be nullified? That God is going to nullify his promise. So here we see the severity of the punishment. So Rebbe says, if that's true, then the years in his life should remain. Right? But what? That he doesn't have the merit of a long life. Right? Well, he's supposed to live till 100. He only lives till, to 82. He didn't get the merit of having long life, but the mitzvah he gets. Right? The mitzvah he should get. So that's what he wants to answer. In other words, that whatever years he's supposed to live, that he's going to get. But the merit of long life, okay, he won't get. Right? That's what he wants to answer. Now, the obvious question is, what does it mean? What does it mean he gets long life? So, we would think long life means long life in this world. But it means long life in the next world. So, everyone wants to say it's not a contradiction. Right? Why not? He says because the merit that he's going to get, whether it's in this world or in the next world, right, he's going to get it one way or another. Right? He's either going to get the merit here or he's going to get it there. So what do we see, though? We see that if a person honors his parents, let's say he fulfills the mitzvah properly, he honors his parents, but he dies relatively young. Right? He dies, or not relatively young, but he has years taken off his life. So even though that may be true, and that might have happened, still there's an ultimate promise. There's an ultimate promise that he's going to get long life in the next world. But what? But the king, God himself, the king of the world, that knows and understands the benefit, the true delight that a person's going to get in the next world. So God is going to fix and pay that merit either in this world or the next world. So if it's going to be long life, God knows where to put it, whether in this world or the next world. So there's an inherent question, over here, and that is that, if the Torah says you're going to get long life if you establish this mitzvah, so everyone wants to say it's not clear, and it's not a proof over here that if you don't honor your parents the way you should, then you're going to get punished with shortness of life, meaning you're not going to live as long as you could have. But it's always so what's the difference over here by Yosef? Right? So by Yosef, we see that it was a disgrace for his father to bow down to him. And the fact that it was a disgrace for his father to bow down to him, it would have been fitting for him to protest. Right? When he saw it happen, he should have stopped him. But he didn't. So because of that, that's what the Targum says. That's what the Targum, Yonas ben Uziel, says. That he gets years taken off for his life because he didn't protest. He didn't want his father to bow. He didn't protest that his father shouldn't bow down to him. I mean, his father was a Zikr Rebbe, was really his rabbi who he learned the most Torah from, right? And not only that, he's his father. So for sure, he shouldn't have allowed him to bow down to him. The fact that he didn't say anything, he doesn't say anything, so he gets severely punished. But if a person showed proper honor in general, right, then what happens? Then maybe he doesn't get the blessing of Arichas Yomim. Maybe the reality is he won't get that blessing of long life. But the merit for the blessing he gets. The merit for the mitzvah that he did, he gets. We're not going to nullify it 100%. It just means he doesn't get the blessing of long life. And therefore, you will see that there's no contradiction. It's not no contradiction, because it would seem in one case it gets nullified, and you see, according to others, it doesn't get nullified. It seems like a contradiction. He says not a contradiction, because for sure the mitzvah you'll get, however you did it, that mitzvah you'll get. It's just you won't have the blessing. You won't get the blessing of a Richa Shami. Now we could look at it another way. What happened over here? Yosef tells his father, tells his brothers the dreams that he has. Now, Yosef puts himself in danger. Even though Yosef puts himself in danger, and he knows that if he tells this over, his brothers may hate him more, which is exactly what happened. Nonetheless, wouldn't it have been better not to tell over the dreams? Answer is, yeah, it would have been better. The only problem is that these dreams were form of prophecy. So when a person has prophecy, and God gives them prophecy, whether, through a dream, a vision, or whatever the case is, if he gives them prophecy, you got to tell it over, even if it puts your life in danger. Not only that, you got to get it right. You got to explain it right. I mean, if you're at that level and you explain it wrong, you're also liable for the death penalty. So that's not good either, right? I guess it's hard to be a prophet. Nonetheless, it's prophecy. He has to give it over. So Rabbi here says that this whole thing that Yaakov bows to Yosef, right, comes about because establishment of the dream that Yosef has, that the sun and the moon bow down to him. Sun and the moon meaning his father and his mother, even though his mother passed away. Right? Nonetheless, that's the dream. Right? That is the dream. So he's just fulfilling the dream. So Yaakov says, let me go. Yaakov says, it's really going to be me, my mother, your mother, and your brothers are going to bow down to you. Now, Yosef didn't have intention that when he said that the sun and the moon were going to bow down to him, he only said it as a mashal. He only says it as a parable, right? Because, right, we can't fathom what that is. The star and the moon, the sun and the moon, they're going to come and bow down to us, right? It's a parable. Right? So it's something that's like inconceivable, that his father would bow down to him. But Yaakov understood that the sun and the moon, he was talking about his father. And this dream proves that to establish that prophecy, so he bows down. Nonetheless, so we see according to that, it's not so bad. Right? Everything seems to work out. Problem is, comes along the attribute of justice. God's attribute of justice comes along and says, not nice. Even if it works out, it's still not nice that Yosef doesn't protest. And the fact that Yosef doesn't protest, he loses years of his life. Now, there's an interesting story. I want to tell this story and then go back to honoring parents. There's an interesting story at the end of Tractate Chulin. There's a discussion between Elisha ben Abuya, known as Acher, the other one, we'll see why, that Elisha ben Abuya has a disagreement with the rabbis about this verse. Right? When it says the Richa Yomim, that if you're going to do the mitzvah, keep it up, if you keep the mitzvah of honoring your parents properly, so what's the merit of the mitzvah? You get a Richa Yomim. That's what the Torah says. You get long life. So Elisha ben Abuya saw a child, his father tells him, climb up on a ladder, go in the tree and push away the mother bird, right? So you get the mitzvah of Shiur HaKain. So what happened? He did it, he fell and he died. Elisha ben Abuya says, I don't understand. He's doing the mitzvah of Kibbut Avim, right? He's doing that mitzvah. What's the result of that mitzvah? What's the merit for that mitzvah? Arichas Yomim, right? He's going to get long life. Doing the mitzvah of Shiur HaKain, pushing away the mother bird. What is the merit for the mitzvah? The only two mitzvahs that have the same merit, the Arichas Yomim. He's going to get long life. So how could he fall and die? How could the child fall and die? Not only that, the child's young, right? I think the child was under bar mitzvah, if I remember correctly, and therefore he shouldn't be liable in either case, right? He's under the age of being punished. So what's going on here? So from there, Elisha ben Abuya goes off and becomes a heretic, right? He's known as Acher, right? The other one, because you have to keep in mind, Elisha ben Abuya was on the Sanhedrin, right? One of the Torah giants of that generation. The Rebbe Meir. I mean, it's very, very hard to imagine. But because of what he sees, he can't make sense of it. He loses his faith and he ends up becoming a heretic. Now, so his discussion with the rabbis tell him that's not what the verse means. The verse doesn't mean in this world, right? That's their proof. It must be in the next world. That the merit for honoring your parents or for shluach haken is in the next world, not this world, right? They disagree with Elisha ben Abuya. In either case, Elisha ben Abuya goes astray. He goes astray from this action. So the Ben Ish Chai, was about more than 100 years ago in Baghdad. Ben Ish Chai has a commentary. He wrote about 50, 60 books. He has a commentary on all these homiletic stories in the Talmud. It's called the Ben Yoyada. And in the Ben Yoyada, he says like this. He says, first of all, he didn't do the mitzvah kibbut avim. He didn't finish the mitzvah. Right? His father told him to do it. He didn't finish it. So if he didn't finish it, he didn't do the mitzvah kibbut avim. So he can't say he honored his father. He didn't finish. If he didn't finish, then he doesn't get the blessing of Arichas Yomim. Same thing by shluach haken. He didn't finish the mitzvah by bringing the eggs to his father. Right? He didn't finish the mitzvah, shluach haken. If he didn't finish the mitzvah of that, right? Also, same thing. He's not going. That's not called the Arichas Yomim. He didn't do what he set out to do. Right? So he didn't fulfill what he needed to do. So it's interesting. There's a fundamental difference of opinion how to learn the verse, and because of the circumstances that happened, Elisha ben Abuya goes astray. Right? He goes astray, becomes a heretic. There's a lot to speak about what happened to Elisha ben Abuya. It's not the topic. It's not the topic for now. The point I want to come back to is this idea of honoring parents. Now, Rabbi Yochanan, the Talmud tells us, says it's better not to recognize your parents because it's impossible to fulfill that mitzvah. Now, obviously, we mentioned, God didn't give the mitzvah for no reason. He didn't give the mitzvah just to punish us so we could, kill everyone at younger ages. Right? It is a very difficult mitzvah. That there's no question. Right? That is definitely no question. Who's to say we honor our parents, the proper way? At the same time, when it comes to parents, as long as they don't abuse us, either physically or, mentally, right? There are different ways we have to honor them, right? And have to fear them. They walk in a room at least once a day, you have to stand up for them. That's the way we honor them. You can't sit in their place unless they give you permission. If they're telling you something, you can't interrupt, right? You have to let them finish. You have to show respect. And if they say something that's wrong, you can't say you're wrong, right? You cannot say, you can't say, Dad, that's wrong, right? That's also showing respect. Doesn't matter if he's an Amma Aretz. Doesn't matter if he doesn't know anything. It's showing disrespect. So what does the person do? So if the parent says something, that, is not true, a person can say, isn't it written over here like this and like this? In other words, if a parent would, God forbid, say, there's no such thing as circumcision. You don't have to do circumcision on your child. So you can't say, no, you're wrong, you're out to lunch. You can tell them, well, I think that the Torah says, I think the Torah says explicitly that you have to do circumcision. Now, you're doing it in a respectful manner, and your father or mother, whoever it is, will figure out what they said isn't right. Now, they could argue. They themselves could be heretics and say, I don't care what the Torah says, blah, blah, blah. Right? In theory, they could say that. But if they say something that's wrong in general, you're not allowed to contradict them straight away. You're not allowed to say directly you're wrong. That's disrespectful. Even if they are wrong. You're allowed to say, I think it says like this over here. Or I think it says like this over there. And then they'll figure out, hopefully, that they're making a mistake. Isn't that enough to say? They're realizing they make a mistake? No. Because you're not doing it directly. As long as you don't do it directly, you're okay. And let's say a person didn't grow up with parents that are religious, right? Let's just say he's a Jew, right? We'll make it easy for now. And the parents aren't religious. So if a parent says, I want you to come with us, on the Sabbath, on Saturday and do this, that, and the other thing, right? You're not allowed to. You're going to say, but in the Ten Commandments it says you have to honor your parents. You have to do what I want you to do. So yeah, and the commentaries say, why is there a juxtaposition of the verse of honoring your parents and keeping Shabbos? Because if your parents tell you that's a great Shabbos, you don't listen to them. They're they get overridden. So, they want you to transgress. You're not allowed to listen to them. Right? It's forbidden. It's forbidden to listen to them. But you have to be respectful. Even if they're evil. Right? Even if they're evil. Evil over here means even if they don't know anything. Right? They could have the status of a Tinok Shenishba. Of somebody that's like they were captured by the non-Jews. Means they don't know anything. Right? Even if they don't know anything, they still have the status of being a Rasha, of being evil. They're going against what God wants them to do in the world. Even if they don't know what they're doing, it just means that what they do, even if they transgress, it's not going to be like it's on purpose, because they don't know what they're doing. Nonetheless, even if that's true, we're not allowed to disgrace them. It could be sometimes it's better, if there are going to be problems, it's better to have less contact. That definitely may be true. And as long as the relationship, is not going to be, so strained or so difficult, then a person should have contact with his parents, right? To a certain extent. But at the end of the day, even if they're considered Rishoyim, all right, most people today are not that, not at that level. They just don't know what they're doing. But even if we would say, they have this status, nonetheless, you're not allowed to disgrace them. You may have to stay away from them because they may have a negative influence on you or your kids, right? That you may have to do. I'm not saying you have to. There are, plenty of people who have relationships with the parents, if the parents aren't religious. But if they start doing things, they try and, inculcate your children with, bad ideas and terrible things, you can guard your kids against that. So, at the same time, you're still not allowed, no matter what they do, you're not allowed to disgrace them. You're not allowed to embarrass them, right? You have to have respect, right? You have to have respect. There is a question. If they are Rishayim, they walk in a room, do I have to stand up? Right? Do I have to honor them and stand up? Right? Many rabbinical authorities say that you don't have to. Right? You don't have to because even though they're your parents, they deserve respect. Here, they're spitting in God's face. Whether they understand it or not. Right? That is, that's what they're doing. So, if they disgrace God, right, why do I have to, why do I have to honor them? So again, even if I don't have to honor them, right, I still cannot make fun of them, right? I'm still not allowed to disgrace them, right? And it's very hard. And the reason, it's very hard because, a person changes their life, so you have all kinds of issues, all kinds of conflicts potentially. And the parents say it's basically you're rejecting their, how they brought you up in many ways. That's true. You are rejecting those ideas. Doesn't mean you have to reject all the ideas. Not all the things the parents do are bad, even if they're secular, right? Nonetheless, nonetheless, you're rejecting them, essentially. So, there's going to be tension. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but usually there's tension. I mean, if you're a non-Jew, even if you don't convert, I mean, you get the same issue. And there it's much more volatile because, if parents are, Bible thumpers or whatever, they're just gonna, they're gonna try and destroy you, with this whole thing about believing in JC. Otherwise, you're gonna fry in hell forever, right? So a non-Jew, has to have a certain level of respect, for their parents also. But many times it's better to keep distance. Now, now we're recording this. I'm not going to have someone tell me, oh, the rabbi said I should never have contact with my parents. Right? That I didn't say. Right? What I said was that you have to see what type of influence they're going to have, how they're going to deal with you. Right? How they're going to deal with your kids. If they're going to go out of their way, try and make your life a misery, etc. There's no mitzvah to speak to them on a regular basis. Once in a blue moon, whatever. That's the respect, because otherwise it's going to get blown up, right? And we have enough things to worry about in this world. That's just an added double whammy. Imagine every time you get together, it's just a screaming fest. You're going to fry in hell forever. Nah, I don't believe in this stupid guy in a stick. You can take a guy in a stick and shove it. I mean, you have all these great conversations, right? You're not going to do anything. It's not going to go anywhere. So it's only going to get you more aggravated. And if they have a negative influence, then a person has to keep their distance, right? Their kids have to keep their distance to a certain extent, because you don't want that negative influence. And, this is a very hard thing. If a person wasn't close to his parents in the first place, okay, there's just another wedge, right? But if they were close before, you got to find a happy medium. Most people don't care as long as it doesn't interfere in their lives. Once it starts to interfere in their life, you won't go out to them to the same restaurants. You won't do the same things that they do. You won't eat the same food. That's already inconvenient, right? So, it could get somewhat hostile because they'll say, oh, these laws don't mean that. That's not what it means. It's this, it's that. This is something you hold to be sacred, and they're going to, trample all over it. So you got to be careful, right? You definitely have to be careful and find, you got to find some sort of balance. Because if you don't find any balance, it's going to be all out war. And, we don't need that, and it's very difficult to go through, right? You're spending a lot of energy, and it's negative because you're just trying to defend yourself and getting trampled on, right? So in many cases, I'm not saying across the board, in many cases, the relationship probably will be strained, at some level. At the same time, you gotta do your best. You have to do your best, but you're certainly not allowed to embarrass them regardless of what they do. Even there's a story in the Talmud where one of the rabbi's mothers ripped his clothes or spit on him or whatever. Can't do anything. If they attack you physically, you're allowed to defend yourself. Right? That you're not allowed just to be turn the other cheek and get pummeled. Right? That's certainly not. But you are allowed to defend yourself. At the same time though, we can't imagine. That's why Rabbi Yochanan says it's a very difficult thing. It's a very difficult thing because there are things we're not going to be able to do, or we're going to fail at some level. So, the essence, of what this mitzvah, God puts in the Ten Commandments. Now, you have to keep in mind, Talmud says that there are three mishutofim, three people together that help form a child. Right? You have a male and a female. Well, today you don't necessarily need a male, but you need a sperm in order to do it. Nonetheless, you got a male and a female, right? So we're aging ourselves here. You got a male and a female, and God puts in the soul. You got three people that are joined together that help in forming a child. Now, even if the parents do things that aren't right, everybody makes mistakes, right? Certainly everyone makes mistakes. I'm not talking about people that are inherently evil, and causing other problems. However, they make mistakes. A lot of people today maybe shouldn't have kids, right? The way they parent, how the kids, may or may not turn out. Nonetheless, at the same time, what you have is you have a situation where according to the Torah, there's an obligation 100% to have gratitude for your parents. Why do you have to have gratitude? Very simple. This is even a non-Jew has to keep because it makes perfect sense. You have to show gratitude because they brought you into this world. Now you can say, oh, I'm a Gilgul, I'm a reincarnated soul, I could have come from somewhere else, to come back in this world. Whatever, it doesn't matter. You're now in a body. That soul is now in a body. How did the body form? I mean, this is biology 101, right? We're going to keep this, PG. How did a child form? Well, we know how a child is formed. So therefore, for better or for worse, we don't have a choice who our parents are. We're born against our will, right? We die against our will. The Mishnah Pirkei Avos says, in Ethics of Our Fathers tells us that. At the same time, they're the ones that brought you to this world. If they're the ones that brought you to this world, you automatically have to have respect. You automatically have to show gratitude. Why? Because without them, you wouldn't be here. So I don't want to hear excuses. I could have come back like this, come back like that. They're the ones that brought you here. Bottom line. Now, there could be, bad things they've done over the years. Right? Could be. Nonetheless, you still have an obligation to show gratitude. Heard someone once say, this is an unbelievable egotistical statement. Someone once said that, I became who I am despite my parents. In other words, parents, let's say, weren't the greatest parents in general, but this person made it seem like, he pulled himself out of the womb, or she pulled herself out of the womb, and clothed herself, fed herself, took care of herself, regardless of her parents. Right? That's not what they're saying. What they're saying is because of how their parents were and how they were treated, they still did all right, even though those are their parents. But that's like saying, I didn't need them. I would have been better off without them. No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't be here. Right? In other words, you start off life, can't do anything. Right? Babies are very self-consuming. They eat, they sleep, have the diaper changed. They scream. They scream when they want things. The mother comes running. Father, he's got selective hearing. Right? But the mother will do whatever it takes to keep the baby quiet. Give the baby what the baby needs. Etc. But they're the ones who looked after you. They're the ones that fed you. They're the ones that clothed you, sent you to school. I mean, they did all these things. Are they perfect? Nobody's perfect. Could they have done terrible things against you? Yes. Right? There's plenty of parents that have done terrible things against their kids. 100%. Even if that's true, there's still an obligation to show gratitude. There's still an obligation, right, that you have to honor them. And you have to show respect. Right? In some cases, maybe you don't have to honor them, but you certainly have to show respect. You can't talk back. Can't interrupt when they speak. You can't disgrace them, as we mentioned. Also, when we see these things, it's hard. It's definitely hard. Right? Are we able to say that we honored our parents properly in this world? Right? Who's going to make such a statement? Who can make such a statement? I don't think too many. It's a very, very difficult thing to do. When they get older, it's more difficult. Because they can't move around so much. There are a lot of different things. The parents don't have money. Right? You have to take care of them. Child has to take care of them. If you can't take care of them, you have to hire somebody. Right? Really, the parents should pay. If they don't have money, you have to pay. That's how far the extent goes. So, yeah. When it says you're going to get long life, it's rough. But it's not to say you're not going to get the mitzvah if you didn't do it properly. As my Rebbe answers, it could be long life. Okay, maybe you're not going to get it. But the merit for the mitzvah you should get. You can't say that a person's going to do a mitzvah and it's going to get nullified. Right? That doesn't make any logical sense, according to anything in the Torah that we know. So, when our parents are alive, as difficult as it is, they give us a golden opportunity. And that golden opportunity is to serve them, to show gratitude. Right? That goes a long way. But it has to be done within reason. Parents, can't make their children into slaves. I mean, some people do, but, parents have to treat their kids properly also. And even if they don't, what's the novelty? The novelty is that even if they don't, as long as you're not being abused, you still have to show proper respect. And it's hard. Because if a parent says something that's heretical, or a parent does something that's mean or is cruel, it's hard. It's hard not to answer back. It's hard not to want to put them in their place in some ways. But see, the Torah doesn't put, we're not put on a pedestal here to say that, this is what this is what you're going to have to do. It's going to be easy. Right? No one says it's easy. Thing is that we have to put our best foot forward. And God's not going to put us in a position that we can't handle. And if it's difficult, okay, then we have to figure out a strategy. We may have to get, advice from others greater than us how to handle certain situations. Right? That is true. That is definitely true. At the same time, it has to be done according to the way the Torah wants. Not what I think. And sometimes the mitzvah of honoring our parents is having little contact with them. That's also a mitzvah. Why? Because contact's going to be a disaster. Right? We have to minimize. Sometimes we have to minimize contact. That can also happen. It's sad and it's tragic. I don't think there's any question. But a person has to be sane in this world. And if trying to have this relationship doesn't exist, or there are other major problems, then there's a mitzvah to break off contact. There'd be a mitzvah to limit contact. Right? Hopefully it doesn't have to be broken off, but even limit. Right? And that might have to be done. So you see, it's a double-edged sword. On the one hand, if we do the mitzvah properly, we certainly have long life in the next world, and we're giving our parents all the nachas, all the enjoyment, because all the mitzvahs we do is, they get the merit for it. They'll get merit for it as well, as long as we go in the right path. Even if they're not on the right path, it's a merit for them. So, on the one hand, we get long life in the next world if we do it properly. On the other hand, we could lose years of our life because we didn't do it properly. But that does not mean, as we said before, it doesn't in any way, shape, or form tell us that you're not going to get the mitzvah. You're not going to get the blessing or the merit for the mitzvah. It just means you won't have a long life. Right? That's what my Rebbe seems to want to answer over here. And we have to see that even if it's going to cost us money, even if it's going to, take money out of our pocket and our parents don't have, still got to sustain them. I mean, it's an unbelievable mitzvah, that we have, the ability to do, at the same time, as we see, it's, it's definitely not easy. We have to keep in mind, whenever we have the opportunity, we should try and utilize it to the best of our ability, regardless of what the circumstances are. So you're going to say, you don't know my parents. It's hard, right? No question. Person going on a different path than their parents, it's definitely hard. No words to say. People understand. it's definitely hard, but this is what the Torah obligates us, and this is what we're trying to strive for. But again, you still have to show gratitude, because they're the ones who brought you here for no other reason. I remember someone once telling me, parents did this, parents did that, parents did the other thing. I said, let's say I agree with you. So what? They just don't know how to parent properly. I agree. And therefore, what, I can make fun of them? I can disrespect them? No. There's only one reason why I can't do that, because the Torah tells me I can't. Nobody's perfect. And a person has difficulty dealing with this, so you have to speak to someone professionally. Air it all out, so to speak. But, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You still have to have, you still have to show, gratitude. If it's that bad, parents abuse you, whether it's physically or mentally, all right, so then throw out what I just said. Right? Then there's no mitzvah over here. But that's only in that case. Any other case, you still have an obligation. That's, we're not going to get you off the hook. We're not going to make it easy. I just want to remind people I give conversion classes, no hide classes. I also, two times a week, I have a question and answer session, usually on Tuesdays, 10 o'clock in the morning, and Thursday, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I have a class on Path of the Just, not a live class. Anyone wants that can contact me. And I give a class on Chovos Levavos, which is Duties of the Heart. We're going to work our way through that since we finished the book Derech Hashem. That's every Tuesday night, 9 o'clock New York time. Anyone interested, you can take a look at my Facebook fan page, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism. Take a look at Beyond Noahides on Facebook. Take a look at my blog, orthodoxconversion.com. Anyone who wants to contact me, you can send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RABBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com. Wishing everyone a great Shabbos.